Hey, super awesome listeners, it's Matt. Jen is on summer break getting ready season 5 of What Are You Listening To? So while she's resting and preparing all at the same time, we've got some of the best of her episodes as well as some of the other shows on the Super Awesome Mix podcast network. This week, it's an episode from our motivational podcast, Super Awesome You, hosted by Samer Abu Salbi. If you enjoy it, please go and subscribe, share, and give that show a 5-star review so more people can find it.
Hello and welcome to Super Awesome You. My name is Samer Abu Salbi. I'm the host of this show. You can find more of the show's content at Super Awesome Mix on Instagram. This week I want to talk about the central governor theory. This is actually something that came across my own Instagram feed, and I've become very fascinated with it. This came across in the context of running. As you are well aware, if you've listened to the show for more than a couple of minutes, I love to run, and I'm training for my first ever marathon this year. I'm like definitely that stereotypical runner that, will tell you that they're a runner within the first 5 seconds of me meeting you. And here I am doing it over and over again. But the central governor theory, I think, has a lot of applications outside of running, and it really is quite fascinating. So if you are unfamiliar with the central governor theory, the main premise of it is that basically your brain will shut down a physical activity long before it actually needs to shut it down. So let's say you're running a half marathon around mile 8 or 9 or 10 even, your brain will start to send you signals and messages of saying, hey, I don't like this anymore and I think you should stop, and I'm tired and you need to quit, and this is dangerous and what are you doing? And all the different things that, the so-called wall that people hit in mile 20 of a full marathon, I think exists, in my experience, at least around mile 9 to 10 of a half marathon, because you've run quite a bit but you're not so close that you feel like you can push towards the end. You're still, 4 to 5 miles out from the finish line. So it's very easy to just kind of feel, what am I doing out here? And to listen to that part of your brain's begging you basically to stop or slow down or take a break. So the central governor theory comes from this idea that the brain is more or less mapping out or projecting the future in this exact moment. And it freaks out at that projection. Let's say you've been running, to use this half marathon example, you've been running for 9 miles, and then your brain, does the math and realizes you need to run another 4. And then it just, instead of stopping at 4, it actually thinks you're just permanently running. And it goes into the state of just thinking, oh my goodness, this guy is running and running and running, and he'll never stop. And if he doesn't stop, then I'm definitely going to run out of energy, and his heart's going to stop, and he'll just fall over and die. And it's quite dramatic in that moment, because technically it's correct. The brain is right. If you ran an infinite number of miles and you never, replenished your nutrition or your water or any of those systems, you didn't give yourself a wee bit of a break, then yes, you're going to run yourself ragged and possibly risk, injury. However, you know that you're running a half marathon and you've trained presumably for this half marathon, and you know that you can push a little bit more. You can certainly at least walk towards the finish line, worst case, but your brain is still sending you those worried signals of asking you to stop and telling you need to stop. Another way of putting the central governor theory is known as mind over matter. What I think is controversial about this, and where maybe your mind goes to first, is you might think, well, does this just mean that anyone can show up and run a marathon, or I can become an Olympian, tomorrow because I really want to, I believe it? And the answer to both of those questions is no. You can't just become an Olympian tomorrow because you simply believe it. And, for most of the population, I doubt they could just run a marathon tomorrow without some level of aerobic baseline or exercise or training. I'm sure that someone could do it, and I don't recommend you do that. Save yourself, please. So it's not fully mind over matter, but the mind definitely plays a part in it. Your brain is very well designed to keep you alive, keep you healthy, and keep you moving. So anytime it is at risk of, losing you, it's going to start sending out all those signals. And because, we have a very advanced brain, and we have a prefrontal cortex, and we have a thinking brain, it can send you those signals in the form of your own voice, your inner monologue. So that's why when you're running or doing something really difficult and you start to feel tired, that voice pops up and it starts telling you, you are tired, you should stop, you should take a break. What are you doing? So what do you do in those moments? I think this is where training and pushing the envelope actually help you overcome that little moment of panic that your brain is going through. It's important to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, like, how am I actually doing? I have found great success by literally doing a body scan head to toe when I'm on a run and I'm feeling tired. I will go from top of my head all the way to the bottom of my toes and just be like, okay, shoulders, how are you doing? And I kind of wiggle my shoulders a little bit and feel like, yeah, they're good. They're not that tight. They're down away from my ear. Great. How are my hands doing? Okay, I need to loosen them a little bit, but they're doing great. And I see them moving. And I get all the way down to like looking at my ankles and my feet and be like, yep, ankles are good. No pain there. I'm actually okay. My muscles actually all feel fine and I'm hydrated. I've been taking, water at the fluid stations and so on. And in that moment, the brain basically has no data anymore to back its claims up. And so I can shut it down and continue running. And the closer, the other phenomenon about this that kind of proves the point of mind over matter is that the closer you get to the finish line, the more energy you have. And, a lot of people sprint that last little bit in any kind of a race distance, even though they've been pushing that whole time. But there's just something really magical about seeing that the finish is near. And all of a sudden you get this boost of energy that, your brain was trying to tell you miles earlier that you had no energy, but here you are and you've got energy to burn, and so much so that you can actually sprint across the finish. I think that's a really magical thing to remember, is that when you are feeling tired and your brain's trying to shut you down, just check in with yourself. You might not be as tired as your brain is telling you that you are. And you might need to remember that you've trained and remember that you've possibly gone even further in training sessions, or you've run even faster in training sessions, or, you've done this before and you've been fine, and that you're taking care of yourself, and you kind of do that body scan, you do that mental scan of how, checking in and seeing how you're doing in this moment. And you can overcome that little moment of panic that is happening. And that's really what the central governor theory is all about, and our ability to overcome it. I love this kind of stuff because I just think it's so interesting how our brain has evolutionarily been designed to protect us, but we as humans really like to test its boundaries, right? And we like to kind of be on the edge of the boundaries and see if we can expand them a little bit. And over time, that's ultimately what we do. You go from running a mile to running 26 miles to the incredible human beings on this planet that can run 50 miles or 70 miles or 100-mile ultra marathons, which is just bonkers. And, all the triathletes and all the Olympians. And it doesn't even have to be about exercise. It can be people who put in grueling hours at starting their own business, or they're independent contractors, like building up their portfolio, or they're new parents that are doing a lot on 2 to 3 hours of sleep and somehow, making it through. You find a way. You definitely find a way. And I think that reminding yourself that you've been in hard positions before and you have found a way is an amazing way to keep doing the next big thing that you're going to do and to surprise yourself. So with that in mind, next time you are pushing yourself and you're excited and you are healthy and you've checked in with yourself, see if you can't go a little bit further and remind yourself of all the amazing things you've done before and that you've been here before, and watch what happens next. Until next time, I hope you have a super awesome week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and just keep on crushing it. And I'll talk to you soon.